republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor Chavez. And with that, we will move on to item number 4. This is the swearing in of the 2 new board members, Mayor Pedro Chavez from the City of Santa Paula and Councilmember Michaela Perez from the City of Oxnard. Oh, I see Ms. Martinez is standing. Thank you.
I hope you can hear me. If our 2 new board members can please stand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Pedro Chavez,
Do solemnly affirm that I will support and defend
Do solemnly swear
affirm
that
that
I will support and
solemnly
defend
affirm that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon me which I'm about to enter.
and that
and that
I
I
will
will
well and faithfully discharge the duties
duties
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations and welcome to the Air Pollution Control Board. So we will go on to item number. Oh,
Sorry, we do have one public comment on this.
thank you for catching that. Okay, go ahead.
We have Brian Pletcher on Zoom. Please begin your comments. You'll have 5 minutes.
Oh, I won't need that. Thank you very much, Chair and the Board. I just wanted to congratulate Pedro Chavez and Michaela Perez for appointment on the Air Pollution Control Board. I know that they will take their opportunity and their goal of defending the Constitution seriously as well. And I really am proud to see you on this board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pletcher. And with that, again, congratulations. If there's anything you want to say, maybe I did skip over that, but any comments, we can also save it for board comments later on. Okay. All right. Item number 5, this is the nomination and election of the chair and vice chair for the board for 2025. And so with that, yes, Supervisor Long?
I would like to nominate Martha McQueen Lejean for the chair position.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or any abstentions? Congratulations, Dr. Martha McQueen Lejean.
Thank you. And thank you for your confidence, I think.
All right, and just before I hand over the gavel to our new chair, we do have the nomination and election of the vice chair. And with that, I would like to nominate my colleague, Supervisor Janice Parvin, for vice chair.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or any abstentions? Didn't even give you a chance to reject that.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, with that, thank you both for your willingness to serve in these capacities, and I will hand over the gavel to our new chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Lopez. And so we're just going to go right on with the agenda. We're going to take up now the minutes for the meeting of the Air Pollution Control Board of December 17th, 2024. Are there any corrections? If no corrections, can I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second. Great. Any discussion?
Apologize, Madam Chair. Can I get clarification on who made the motion?
Okay.
I think we tied.
Mendez and
Yeah, let's go with Mendez.
the second, Parvin? All right. Thank you for clarifying.
Great, thank you.
Madam Chair, for the record, I'm going to be abstaining since I was not on the board previously.
Great, thank you. And we'll go ahead and take a vote. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Abstain?
I abstain.
Great, thank you. You have that? Okay, great. The motion passes by majority. We'll now move on to the agenda. So we're going to consider to approve the agenda. Any adjustments to the agenda?
Yes, there were several changes to your board's agenda since its original publication. For item number 8, public comment, 4 public comment letters have been submitted. For item number 13, regular agenda, approval of amendments to the Air Pollution Control District's Administrative Manual, a public comment letter from Rolando Barrios has been submitted. For item number 16, regular agenda, approval of a merit increase for the Air Pollution Control District's Air Pollution Control Officer, Executive Officer, a public comment letter from an anonymous member of the public has been submitted. That completes the agenda review.
Great, thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda with the amendments?
I'll second.
If there are no discussions, we'll take a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And we'll move on to number 8, public comments. We'll turn that over to the clerk.
Thank you, Chairman Queen
Thank you.
LaJean. To members of the public who wish to address the board today with live public comment on any agenda item, please visit ventura.org/cob/APCB for participation information and instructions. For in-person public comment, please check in with the deputy clerk. If you wish to make comments, you must be in the boardroom, or if you're participating remotely, you must be connected to the meeting via Zoom or telephone before the close of the public comment period for that agenda item. Requests to make live public comment on an agenda item will be accepted until the public comment period for each agenda item is complete. For our remote participants, please accept the prompt to be promoted and unmute your mic when it's your turn to speak. For all public comments, the in-person speakers present in the boardroom will be called upon first, followed by remote participants. At the discretion of the chair, general public comment regarding air pollution control district related matters that are not listed on the agenda but are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board may be moved to the end of the meeting. And for this item, we currently have 4 speakers. Each speaker is going to be allowed 5 minutes. And our first speaker, looks like all of our participants for this item are on Zoom. So we're going to go with Christina Gonzalez, followed by Kathy Kay, Maria Cruz, and Gloria Bard. So Christine Gonzalez. Christine Gonzalez, I see you've been promoted. If you unmute your mic, you'll have 5 minutes to give your comment.
Thank you so much. Yes, hello?
Hi, please proceed.
Perfect. So I am addressing this letter to the APCB and others concerned. My intention is for this letter to be read during the upcoming meeting. As a concerned citizen, I have been hearing distressing accounts about APCD over the past year and a half. Reports include mistreatment, verbal abuse, harassment, overwork, demotions, belittlement, and retaliation against employees. Employees are living in fear, uncertain about the future, and worried that even a minor mistake could lead to a termination or immediate retaliation. This fear has materialized into actual incidents twice within this last year. The lack of transparency in APCD management is particularly troubling. Employees are being reprimanded for unclear policies, some of which are not even part of the county employment manual. Furthermore, APCD has amended the employee manual without obtaining board or union approval, which are necessary prerequisites for implementing new policies. I have been informed that previous attempts have been made to report these issues to the county. Employees have utilized complaint and fraud hotlines, but these avenues have proved unhelpful and have often exacerbated the situation. It has been reported that employees who use these channels subsequently face difficulties with APCD HR manager Nancy Mendoza, who appears to have direct influence over county HR. Even attempts to file anonymous complaints have been thwarted, with Nancy Mendoza seemingly able to discover the individuals involved and making their lives challenging. I want to emphasize the root of the problem lies with APCD management, particularly Nancy Mendoza and Al Ghazemi. Allegations include illegal acts such as qualified hiring, time card fraud, wage theft, harassment, and retaliation. It is crucial not to take the statements of Al or Nancy at face value, as there is a darker side to their actions that has not been revealed. The employees of APCD are exhausted, fearful, and feeling unsupported. It seems as though their voices are not being heard, and it is imperative that their concerns are given attention. The primary desire is for a healthier work environment, free from the stress of constant management surveillance and the fear of unjust termination. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker is going to be Kathy Kay, followed by Maria Cruz and Gloria Bard. Kathy, I see that you've been promoted. If you unmute your mic, you'll have 5 minutes to give your comment. Hi, Kathy. I see that you've been promoted. If you unmute your mic, you'll have 5 minutes to give your comment.
Can you hear me now?
And we can hear you. Please proceed.
Great, thank you. This comment was written by a staff member who has been with APCD for more than 5 years. I'm reading it for them. APCD has management problem that has led to very low morale of employees district-wide. Communication up and down the chain of command is poor. Outdated policies and inconsistent enforcement of them have led to an environment where staff does not know if or when they will be subject to punishment. Discipline and punishment has not followed the progressive and stepwise nature that it is supposed to be followed. Poorly performing managers have been allowed to remain for years with no apparent consequence, while hardworking staff get punished for trying to advocate for a better work environment. Separately, it is disheartening to see that a raise for the APCO is being discussed when the progression of specialists and engineers from the 1 to 2 classification has been denied on the basis of funding and financial concerns within the district. Thank you for your time and consideration in these matters.
Thank you. Our next speaker is going to be Maria Cruz, followed by Gloria Bard. Maria, I see that you've been promoted. If you unmute your mic, you'll have 5 minutes to give your comment. Hi, Maria. Are you able to unmute your mic? Okay, how about we go to our next speaker, Gloria Bard. Gloria, you should receive a prompt to be promoted. Thank you. I see you've been promoted. If you unmute your mic, you'll have 5 minutes to give your comment. Gloria, are you unable to unmute your mic? We can have our IT staff just allow you to speak on this item, if that's okay. So I see both Maria and Gloria have been promoted. You will need to unmute your mic in order to give your public comment. IT, are you able to allow them to speak? Okay, so Maria and Gloria, this is going to be the last call. You both have been promoted. You both will need to unmute your mic in order to give your public comment for this item. We are trying to send you a prompt to unmute your mic, and we're also trying to allow you to speak, but those are being declined. Okay, Gloria, I see that you've unmuted your mic.
Yes, are you able to hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, members of the Air Pollution Control District Board, I'm writing to bring to your attention growing concerns among staff regarding the workplace environment and leadership practices that are negatively impacting morale, efficiency, and employee retention. In recent months, we have seen 3 valuable employees either demoted or placed on administrative leave after presenting cost-saving or operational improvement suggestions. This has created a culture of fear where employees feel unable to voice concern or propose ideas without risk of retaliation. The current loss of 3 knowledgeable and dedicated staff, particularly 1 in human resources and 2 in compliance supervisory roles, has further weakened the organization's effectiveness and support systems for employees. The current climate is causing significant distress among staff, reducing efficiency, and contributing to a toxic work environment. Many employees feel unheard and undervalued, leading to further disengagement and turnover. We urge the board to look into these concerns and take appropriate steps to ensure that employees feel safe, supported, and empowered to contribute positively to the organization without fear of retaliation. The long-term success of this organization depends on a healthy, transparent, and collaborative work environment. Thank you for your time and consideration. We trust that the board will take these concerns seriously and work towards a resolution that benefits both employees and the organization as a whole.
Okay, our last speaker is going to be Maria Cruz. Maria, we are going to unmute your mic and allow you to speak. And if we don't hear from you, then we're just going to have to close our public comment for this item. So Maria, I see that they're unmuting your mic and it keeps muting again. So we're going to allow our IT to unmute your mic and give you the option to speak. Okay, Chair McQueen-Lejeune, it's obvious that Maria is having technical difficulties and we're not able to help her. So Maria, I'm going to encourage you to send your comment to clerkoftheboard@ventura.org and we'll make sure that gets added to record for this meeting item. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez, and those who have given public comments. We'll next move on to board comments. Any members have anything they'd like to share?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
All right. Can you hear me? So I just want to share some praise for APCD staff and leadership for the communication with the public through the Los Angeles fires. I thought the collaboration, the communication was pretty positive in terms of getting the word out on impacts to air quality in this county throughout the horrific fires of Los Angeles. And I was seeing regular and frequent and substantive updates from the district. So I was happy to see that. Thank you. Just want to share that.
Great. Any other board members? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to our Air Pollution Control Officer comments. Mr. Gassemi?
Good afternoon, Chair Lejeune, members of the board, Ali Gassemi, Executive Officer. Congratulations first. In regard to personnel and vacancies, we have completed our recruitment for vacancies in monitoring and incentive programs. Now our monitoring and incentive programs are fully staffed. In regard to APCD program, we continue with our regular activities. However, I would like to highlight the success of the Protecting Blue Whales, Blue Skies program. Just briefly, the program is a vessel speed reduction, verification, and recognition program. Under this program, ships are voluntarily transiting at 10 knots or less in VSR zones during the season set by NOAA, U.S. Coast Guard, and EPA. Doing so, shipping participants help reducing ship strikes risk to endangered whales, underwater noise, regional greenhouse gas emissions, and air pollutions. And to highlight the activities in 2024, I'm just going to give you a summary of our activities. For 2024 season, we have 49 participating companies. It was up from 33 in 2023. 85% cooperation level were up from 81% in 2023. And we got 23 Sapphire level participant, which is up 13 in 2023. It was almost 60% higher. Additionally, there will be the 10th anniversary award celebration tentatively scheduled for Wednesday, April 16th from 1 to 3, and all APCD board members are invited. The APCD board chair or an alternative could also speak briefly. The event will be at Alta C at the Port of Los Angeles. A cocktail reception will follow until 5 p.m. This is all I have, and I'm ready to take any question you may have.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Gassemi? Okay.
There it goes. So you mentioned that the number of companies, shipping companies, have signed on, and it's been an increase from the previous year. what does that universe look like? So that we know where, like, how many companies are there in total that we're aiming to get?
I don't know the exact number, but I have Tyler Harris, the manager of incentive program, may provide you with that number.
Thank you. Tyler Harris, I'm the division manager for planning rules and incentives with the district. The number of actual companies that transit through the areas that we run in the program is very high. There's hundreds, but we have about 89% of the container ships participating, similar level of the cargo, or like car carriers, they call them roll-on, roll-off ships. But the general and bulk cargo carriers and tankers generally tend to have a different transit schedule. They don't just kind of go back and forth from Asia to the West Coast. They just travel all around the world. So those companies are not as engaged with, the local activities, and so they're harder to recruit. But they're much smaller, 1 or 2 ships for their independent operators and that sort of thing. So we have, I think it comes up to around 60% of the total miles traveled is participating in the program. And obviously we're always trying to increase that, and it has been going up regularly every year. So
Thank you for answering the question.
Are there any other questions? If not, thank you, Mr. Kissimmee.
Thank you.
We'll move on to our regular agenda items. We'll start with the approval of appointing 2 Ventura County Air Pollution Control District board members to the APCB Standing Committee, and approval to appoint 1 APCB member to the South Central Coast Basin-wide Air Pollution Control Council. Are there, Mr. Kissimmee?
Actually, it is voluntary, so
Okay.
I'm leaving it to the board members to actually volunteer their assistance with these 2 programs.
Great, thank you. We'll start with the Air Pollution Control Board Standing Committee. Are there any volunteers? Supervisor Lopez?
Yes, I'm interested in continuing on the standing committee, Chair.
Okay, and I think the next one should be, so we have myself as the chair, we have the vice chair, now we have Supervisor Lopez, so we would like to look for a city board member to participate. If not, we'll take anyone.
Madam Chair, would you let us know what the commitment looks like? That'd be helpful for the
I
for the
can
members.
respond to that.
Thank you.
During the year, there are probably maximum 2 or 3 times that after the board meeting, we may have requests to have go to another room for discuss budgets, personnel matters, anything regarding to that, and that usually happens 2 to 3 times a year, not more than that. After the meeting, yes. Usually it takes 45 minutes to 1 hour, I guess.
Is there a volunteer? Is there? Okay, great.
Thank you.
Councilmember Whitman. Okay, so that's our 4.
Yes, and then for, may I continue?
Yes, you can. Thank you.
Okay. And for the South Coast, Central Coast Basin-wide, during the year, we meet 4 times, once every quarter. And during those time, we have to have a meeting at the facility. Why? Because it has to be a public place that if public members would like to participate, they should be able to participate. But it is virtual. It is the meeting is between us, Santa Barbara, and San Luis Obispo. Now, last year, it only happens 3 times. Sometimes it is 3, maximum 4 times. Every time the duration would be between, I can say, 1.5 hours to 2 hours. And usually it is in the morning, starting probably 10:30, and it goes up to 12.
Is there a volunteer?
I guess I'll volunteer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Stop it. Okay, so we have Councilmember Whitman, Supervisor Parvin, Supervisor Lopez, and myself for the standing committee. And then we have Mayor Chavez for the
South Central
Bay-
Coast Base.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
With that in mind, is there a motion and a second?
I'll motion.
Happy to second.
Great. Any comments? We'll go ahead and take a vote. Those in favor say yes.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have adoption of a resolution adding 2 full-time equivalent fixed-term position allocations of air quality specialists for a 1-year term. Mr. Ghassemi.
That's correct. For the record, Ali Ghassemi, Executive Officer of Ventura County APCD. Staff is requesting your board to approve the 2 position allocations for the air quality specialist classification with a fixed employment term of 1 year. This is to avoid disruption in the district operation and to maintain operational efficiency. To give you a background, the district experienced an unexpected staffing shortage due to technical staff being on extended leave for absence. The district current fiscal year 24-25 adopted budget has sufficient funds to cover the additional cost of the salaries and benefits for the proposed position through the remainder of the year. And this is because we postponed and lower than budgeted expenditure, so we have the money available. This is just in case if we need to, and if it gets to the point that we have to, I would like to have the approval of your board for these 2 allocations. And the reason that we are asking now, because right now currently there is an existing list that we can use, and we can get anybody on board probably within a week or so.
Any comments? Any questions?
Chair McQueen-Lejeune, we do have a public comment for this item.
Thank you so much.
We have S. Noren, who's here in person. Mr. Noren?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Clerk. Good afternoon, excuse me, Madam Chair. Welcome to your new position.
Thank you.
Pleasure to meet you. Board of Supervisors, my representative, Board of Supervisors Livier, good to see you, sir. I'm my first time coming here. It's a big room, kind of a little intimidated, I must say. This is cool bringing the community together with the Board of Supervisors and the newly electeds as well. This is great. I'm Spencer. I do something called Ventura Forward. It's kind of a community source of information in the city of Ventura. And I'm here today to speak upon something that I believe most of our cities have in common, which is climate change, climate goals, right? Many different ways that we can accomplish these goals. And I've been learning more and more about the Air Pollution Control District, learning about how it's a different entity than not the state or the county. It's its own thing, learning more about it, how the employees and the staff. And over the last few months, different staffers and different employees across the county have reached out to me. I'm learning a little more and more. And I wanted to come up with like some simple common sense to what was maybe possibly being gone and shed in light to we heard speakers like Krista, Gloria, and Kathy about maybe why we need these positions that we're discussing in the agenda item filled, which could be a tough decision for this board when we're learning more about the district and how maybe the community doesn't know exactly what's going on as well, sometimes. So I want to come in speaking of favor of quality jobs and strength, and knowing that there's employees that don't have their job right now, which is described by Mr. Ali, your first name, sir, from unseen circumstances. I think that's a moment that the employees that were coming under public comment in 3-0 favor about the workplace environment, right? So do we need to have these jobs being created even though on a one-year term if we have good employees that are currently out on leave that want to come back and do the same job that we're asking to be hired, which might be the case if we go with a possible motion that I'm proposing to extend both decisions on agenda items number 12 and number 16, which goes into a merit raise for this department as well. Because before any financial movements get exchanged, I would love our fiduciary responsibility to make sure that the public comments that were said here tonight are valid or aren't valid. And we don't have to hire these people, and we can strengthen jobs from good working people already within the district. So my public comments again are showing respect for the current staff that are working hard. I'm not in depth completely within that. I do publicly testify that. But I have heard throughout public communications about the current situation. And not only did my public comments pre-written this, also were backed up by public comment today. So I'm asking the board again to extend possibly a motion, not to approve or deny 12 or 16, but move to motion to extend decision to a further date. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
That concludes the public comment for this item. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So we've heard Mr. Gassimi's report. Did the board have any questions for Mr. Gassimi? No. Did you have anything else, Mr. Gassimi?
Yes, this position is just to have in case if we need to fill this position. It's not that the person that they are on family leave or extended leave, they don't have the job and they are coming back. It's just during this time, we don't want it, we would like to avoid disruption or actually from the taking away the efficiency or production of the programs.
Great. Supervisor Long.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask our HRs here, is the standard procedures? I thought that it might be good for our board to understand that.
Good afternoon, members of the board. For the record, my name is Matt Escobedo. I am representing the County Executive Office Human Resources Division. And to answer your question, yes, there are various protected leaves within the state of California, and it is not uncommon for positions to be requested and approved in order to cover work during those absences.
Thank you, and I appreciate there might be people listening in today, and I want to make sure that that was shared as well. Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Welcome.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes.
Thank you. So it's a one-year position, and let's say the employee that's on leave comes back in 6 months. What happens to the employee that was hired for that term?
We're going to keep that person for 1 year because this is what is being promised to, and we're going to take advantage of the work that he will be doing.
And we have enough in the budget to cover that?
That's what I
for
said.
both?
Yes. It's going to be, and I'm not saying that right away we're going to hire somebody. In case if we do, we have the budget for the remaining of this year, and also we're going to have a budget for the next year that I'm going to bring it to your board, probably the next few months.
Thanks.
Great. Any other questions? Okay, we have before us the adoption of the resolution adding 2 full-time equivalent fixed-term position allocations of air quality specialist 1 for a 1-year term. Is there a motion to adopt?
I'll move to adopt.
Is there a second?
Second.
Great. Any other comments? If not, we'll move to a vote. Those in favor? Say aye. And those opposed? Any opposed? What about abstentions? Great, thank you. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, we'll move to item number 13, approval of amendments to the Ventura County Air Pollution Control District Administration Manual to revise its respectful workplace, sexual harassment, and workplace violence policies, and approval to add policies regarding harassment, discrimination, and retaliation prevention, equal employment opportunity plan, whistleblowers, and a code of ethics to conform with amendments recently made to the Ventura County Administrative Policy Manual. Mr. Gassimi, over to you.
For the record, Ali Gassimi, Executive Officer of Ventura County APCD. Your board adopted the District Policy and Procedure Administration Manual on November 11, 2001. The District Admin Manual is based on the County of Ventura's administrative manual, such as personnel, finance, risk management, legal, etc. On March 26, 2024, the Board of Supervisors approved revisions to 7 county human resources policy to align with industry best practices and update to applicable California employment laws. District staff recommends that your board approve the same amendments to the district workplace violence, sexual harassment, code of ethics, and respectful workplace policy. I'd like to point out that the code of ethics was erroneously referenced in the board letter as new policy. However, the district initially adopted this county policy in 2007. In addition, staff recommend that your board approve to include the amendments to the whistleblower, equal employment opportunity plan, harassment, discrimination, and retaliation policy, which are not currently contained within the district administrative manual as individual policy, but was previously just as part and or referenced in other district policies. If your board approves the proposed amendments, the district will revise its administrative manual accordingly, and the new revised policy will be disseminated to staff. The district will continue to utilize county training resources and mandates for employees pertaining to this policy. That's all I have, and I'm ready to answer any question you may have.
Any questions? Questions?
I would just motion to approve. I think the updates to the manual is extremely important for the well-being of all of our employees. Thank you.
I'll second.
Can I just really quick, Ms. Martinez, any public comments?
Thank you, Chair McQueen-Lejeune. There are no speakers for this item.
Great, so we've received a motion and a second. If there are no other questions, we can move to a vote.
Chair, sorry, yes. One question, if I can. As Mr. Ghassemi presented, this is getting in line, or bringing the policies in line with what was adopted at the county level.
Yes.
And when that happened, we also went through additional training. So I just want to verify that the additional training that was adopted for regular county employees is also something that will be conducted with APCB.
That's correct.
Thank you.
We are following the guideline and procedure and regulations and requirements of the county HRs.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for the question and the comments. We'll move to a vote. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Ghassemi, for your report. Okay. We'll move to item number 14. This is the public hearing. Guess I'll start with, have we made all the notices required of a public hearing? We have. Great, thank you. Mr. Ghassemi, over to you.
Okay.
Is it, open it now? Okay, yes, thank you. We will now open the public hearing. Over to you, Mr.
Okay.
Ghassemi.
For the record, Ali Ghassemi, Executive Officer of Ventura County APCD. This is a public hearing to consider adoption of fiscal year 24-25 service rates and fees. Under the Health and Safety Code, Section 41.512.7 and 42.311, the district is authorized to recover its cost for services rendered in the form of fees for providing such services as required by Federal Cleaner Act and California Cleaner Act. Annually, around this time, we are requesting your board to approve our service rate. It is per hour cost of a particular worker classification, which consists of salary, benefits, and overhead. There are three main types of charges in the district service rates and fees, which are service hourly rates, duplication fees, and miscellaneous fees. First, for the air quality engineer classification, we have two types of service rates. One applies to the work that the staff is conducting to issue authority to construct and permit to operate, which under the Health and Safety Code 41.512 limits the maximum fee increase to 15% in any calendar year. The other air quality engineer service rate applies to other services, which under the Health and Safety Code, Section 42.311A, requires this fee shall not exceed for any fiscal year more than CPI of the prior year. Staff is recommending applying the CPI of 3.8% for both rates, even though we could have different rates, but we want to have the CPI for those two rates. Next is the air quality specialist and the air quality instrument technician service rates. These two service rates are also limited on the health and safety code to a maximum increase no greater than the annual CPI. Staff is also recommending a CPI increase of 3.8% for these categories. For duplication and miscellaneous fees, staff is recommending to keep the same rate as prior year fiscal year. That's all I have, and I'm ready to take any question you may have.
Are there any questions from the board? Supervisor Burrell?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just curious if there's been an evaluation or assessment of how these recommendations compare to what other districts may be doing up and down the state.
Well, every district is different because the type of work that they do is being in their rule has been specified differently. Like, for example, for our rules, when we are getting a permit for our fees, we assign it based on the maximum potential to emit emissions. Other districts, they may consider it as an equipment type. So if you're asking me how the service rate is being applied or implemented in other districts, I'm not familiar with that, but I'm sure that it's not the same. It shouldn't be the same. It could be different. But this policy and this procedure has been for years, and there hasn't been any changes in the methodology that we are applying or anything regarding any new changes. That's all I can tell you at this point.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Ms. Martinez, are there any public comments?
Chair McQueen-Lejeune, there are no requests to speak for this item. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no other public comments, we will conclude that section of the hearing and close the public hearing. Okay. Thank you.
Staff recommendation.
Great. Is there a second? Great. Any discussion? If not, we'll take a vote. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No, opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Kissimmee.
Thank you.
And we'll move on to number 15, ratification of the Ventura County Air Pollution Control District's application for an acceptance of Inflation Reduction Act multi-pollutant air monitoring grant funding from the United States Environmental Protection Agency in the amount of $662,488 and authorization for the auditor-controller to process the necessary budgetary transactions.
Yes.
Great. I wanted to read recommendation number 2 requires 6 affirmative votes.
That's
Over to you, Mr. Kissimmee.
Thank you. For the record, Ali Ghassemi, Executive Officer of Ventura County APCD. This item is to request your board to allow the district staff accepting the Inflation Reduction Act, referred to as IRA, multi-pollutant air monitoring grant funding in the amount of $662,488 from the U.S. EPA and authorize the auditor controller to process related accounting transaction. To provide you with the brief background, on March 18, 2024, the district received an invitation from U.S. EPA to apply for these direct award IRA fund. On May 1st, 2024, the district staff submitted a grant application to the U.S. EPA for IRA direct awarding funding in the amount of over $1 million. It was exactly $1,117,500. On September 6, 2024, we were approved for only $662,488. On December 9, 2024, the district received its grant agreement. And I'd like to, here is how we're going to use this fund. A portion of the funds will be used to buy and operate device that will continuously measure the amount of black carbon in the air at the district's Simi Valley Monitoring Station and help identify sources such as the portion attributed to wildfire and traffic. The bulk of the grant will cover the replacement of the old monitoring equipment serving all 5 district stations. That's all I have, and I'm ready to answer any question you may have.
Are there any questions for Mr. Kissimmee?
Approve.
Second.
Any other discussions? Did we have any public comments?
Chair McQueen-Lejeune, we do not have any comment for this item. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We have, the motion's been, I have a motion and a second, so let's go for a vote. Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Any abstentions? Great, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you, and we'll move on to our final item, number 16, approval of a merit increase for the Air Pollution Control District's Air Pollution Control Officer, Executive Officer, effective retroactive to September 29th, 2024, and approval of a new employment agreement for the APCO. And I apologize, I don't know your name on the top of my head.
No apologies necessary.
Great. Over
Good
to you.
afternoon, members of the board, Chair, Dr. McQueen-Lejeune. For the record, my name is Matt Escobedo. I'm representing the County Executive Office Human Resources Division, and I'm here today to present some recommendations with respect to our APCD Executive Officer. Specifically, we are recommending that your board discuss and agree to a merit increase for your Executive Officer. B, that you agree that this be a retroactive to September 29th, 2024. And C, that Madam Chair, that you sign the updated employment agreement reflective of your consensus. The basis of this recommendation is the APCD management resolution, specifically sections 316, 319, and 322. Well, 316 ensures that or affords management employees a minimum 5% increase in line with their anniversary date following the completion of their performance review. 319 allows for up to a 10% flexible merit increase when there's sufficient evidence that there's above average performance. And Section 322 allows for retroactivity back to the anniversary date. It is important to note that the APCD management resolution doesn't necessarily apply to the executive officer. However, we're recommending it in line with internal equity considerations to be consistent with other managers within the district as a framework for discussion. That said, I also want to call out that your board has tremendous flexibility in terms of the salary progression of the executive officer. And there is tremendous flexibility in terms of how the incumbent progresses through the salary range. By way of reference, your executive officer's salary, base salary to date is approximately 13.56% below the top of the range. That said, I am happy to answer any questions or facilitate any discussions as that your board would prefer.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Any questions? Supervisor Lopez?
No, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Escobedo, for the presentation. And you know, as the board letter states, this is following a review that we held in the executive committee, or the standing committee, in December. And so you know, I've had a conversation with Mr. Escobedo before in preparation of this meeting to bring this recommendation forward. And so the range that is being presented, just bringing it back to discussion or asking for discussion at the board level, recognizing the work that Mr. Gazembe has been doing during his contract, and the outcomes that were shared in the review, the management review. So just want to express my support in seeing this and moving this forward.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else?
Madam Chair, just for the record, I just joined this board and I'm not part of what took place in terms of performance review, so I'm not comfortable with it. I'm going to abstain.
Great, thank you, thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Just quickly, I wanted to thank Mr. Gazembe for all the work he's done.
Thank you.
Great. Anyone else? I too would like to thank you for all your work and your support of this county. So no to do the work that you do as it relates to our environment, except for folks that are actually in the area. So we do really appreciate all that you're doing for us and all that we know that you'll continue to do. So thank you so much. Any other comments? Supervisor Long?
Yes, I do really appreciate the engagement with our community as well. The leadership has been shown for our fires, air quality, tracking of businesses, making sure our grants are being processed and getting the Carl Moyer, the blue whales. I mean, everything has been really good, and especially with working with CARB, trying to understand that for our fishing industry. I think it's really important that we're aware of so many things that this board and our staff does. And I really do appreciate the leadership on that. So thank you.
Supervisor Parvin.
I did want to take a moment and just say thank you for being so responsive, because I get questions from our constituents out in the field when you're out and about, and he responds right away. I don't even have to hesitate to get a response. And that's one thing that I appreciate about you and your department is quick response time. And I remember when I first got on this board, I too did what you just did, because I didn't really know him yet. But you'll know him in no time at all. Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to echo my colleagues' comments. There's been several instances where I've had questions or concerns from the community, and I email Ollie. He's always so responsive, engaged, and he's been very helpful working with business owners and individuals under the authority of APCD. And so I always appreciate your quick responsiveness and your ability to really engage with the customers of APCD. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
I too would like to thank Mr. Ghassemi for his work with the APC board, and also when we had the incidents at the Chiquita landfill, I reached out and he was very quick to get back to me and kept sending me updates. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Great. I did have one question for you, Mr. Escovedo. In the report, and my screen just went blank here, in the report it spoke about 30% of employees had received above 6% increase, but it didn't give any other information on the other 70%. Do you have that information?
Well, yeah, I'm happy to speak to the methodology. So part of this review was an historical analysis of the County of Ventura and specifically department directors within specific agencies. Although distinct from Mr. Ghassemi's role, there is somewhat of a nexus there. To be frank, we had to go back a strong period of time to achieve a good-sized data set because there are a number of department directors who actually start at the top of the range, and as a result of that, don't get reviews or merit increases.
Right.
That said, going back 10 years, a decade, we did find approximately 30% of department directors got a merit increase above 6%. And that included some folks who received a 10% increase.
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions? If there are no other questions, is there a motion? Oh, public comments? Great, thank you.
So I just want to remind our participants today, if you're on Zoom, please press the raise hand button to be added to the queue, and we'll allow you to speak on this item. To our pre-registered, we have one in person and two on Zoom. So we'll go to the in-person, and I'll ask staff to please have a seat while an in-person public commenter makes this comment. So Mr. Noren, please proceed to the podium, and you'll have 5 minutes to give your comment.
That's a tough act to follow. Chair, thank you again. Clerk, you've been amazing. Appreciate your hospitality, customer service. I want to voice again and kind of be a reminder of the group that's here, of you're elected by the people, right? Representatives of the people. And today I've heard the people by public comment and by myself being the only neutral public comment to be in favor of the employees that I think that aren't being heard in this process. I've heard some comparative numbers today from a 6% increase of raise to 10% plus more retroactive. Why wouldn't those raises be equal percents? I think that might be one example of common sense that you're seeing in this department, which demands oversight, immediate oversight. And please, from the people, asking again myself in representation to pause this merit increase until we find out more of this department. I appreciate Mr. Chavez sustaining, but I'd also appreciate maybe a vote of saying in the motion of the people, again, to saying looking further into this with motion, maybe it's ad hoc or some subcommittee, to make sure that these voices that were heard today are heard further. And I just think that's very important, again, as you're looking at strengthening jobs that are currently in the county and the importance of climate change. So, lost my train of thought there. Oh, I wanted to talk about my sweatshirt here. That's what I wanted to forget. I forgot last time. There's a lot of basketball coming up, girls basketball, boys basketball. I think over 26 teams across the county, highlighted by the girls. Thursday night, Thousand Oaks is at Ventura High School. Channel Islands is having a great year. All kinds of different teams across the county for you who would love to see you at these games, right? Oxnard boys play Wednesday night. Love to see you home of the Yellow Jackets. You can find that very information easily. But as I'm sitting here, it's a reminder of, again, who you represent, right? And this is due respect to the employees that are here and to HR looking at these raises that increased by the books. But the last 2 years have been different. Not all of our community members have gotten raises by the books and merit increases of 5 or 10%. We've been flying on the seat of our pants and our feet all across this county. And this time, the people spoke. If I can take an extra 2 minutes to say that we need a voice to be heard over these raises. And no one wanted to say that price right now is $240,000 a year, I believe this gentleman makes a year, which is a nice, pretty penny. And a 10% raise is $24,000 plus back. Do you know anybody else who got that big of a raise this year? I don't know. But that's where we're at in Ventura County, and people are hurting, and people need to be heard from a holistic point of view. And I think this is a good example. When you have the climate, and a common sense example would be for employees that live in Simi Valley and have their office off of Telephone Road in Ventura, right by Winco, and you have a job to do in Simi Valley. Currently, the structure that they wanted to change to this day is you drive in from Simi Valley with your gas-powered car, you get an electric vehicle, you drive back to Moore Park to do your job, you drive back to Ventura, then you get back in your gas. But before what was happening, before I think to prior leadership, an example, okay, I didn't want to go too deep, but I will now because we're here. If you lived in Simi Valley, we shared parking lots with other government assets, county buildings, police officer stations, fire department stations, possibly libraries. We can look into this process. I believe it was in place. Where if you lived in Simi Valley, you parked your car there, your work car there, drove there, went to Moore Park, went back to Simi Valley, and then went home. Think of the time efficiency, not only the emissions that are being put out by employees' cars. This is an example that I wanted to bring to light in my personal time. Being the only public comment here today, again, thank you for your time. Thank you, staff, for being so gracious with customer service. I think, again, please, take motion. Look at your merit raises, not in saying no, but in saying in the future. Thank you.
Okay, our next public comment is going to be on Zoom. We're going to hear from Christine Dow and then Kathy Kay. Christine, I see that you've been promoted, and I see that you've also had your hand up. You'll have 5 minutes to give your comment. Please unmute your mic, and you can begin.
Thank you for your time here. I'm here to comment on agenda item 16, the merit raise for Ali Gassimi. I'm actually a resident of Ventura County of Janice Parvin's, Supervisor Parvin's district. And as a concerned member of Ventura County community, I saw this agenda item, and I'm deeply invested on how public funds are allocated. Given the county's financial challenges and high cost of living, many local residents and businesses are struggling. Ventura County's affordability crisis puts significant pressure on the community, particularly those permitted by the Air District. The district has already lost several high-paying facilities, which could further strain its budget and staffing efforts. Under the new administration, federal administration, there is great uncertainty in how environmental agencies will be funded going forward. The district relies on money from the California Air Resources Board and the US EPA, and there's no telling how this is maybe impacted, how the district's budget may be impacted by those changes. Considering these challenges, I believe awarding a raise to Mr. Gassimi is unwise at this time, as it severely impacts how the agency is able to function in the near and long-term future and may lead to negative public perception. The public's there today, the public's watching, and this would not be very good perception. Additionally, there are troubling internal issues under Mr. Gassimi's leadership, as we have heard on several occasions today, including unequal treatment of staff and inconsistency policy enforcement, often influenced by the fiscal manager, Nancy Mendoza. These issues have contributed to a hostile work environment, low morale, and the loss of valuable staff, which we've heard today in the public comments. And the board should address this before deciding on whether Mr. Gassimi deserves a merit increase. Mr. Gassimi has denied step increases for 2 of his engineers over the last couple years that are well deserving of promotions and are overdue for these increases. Mr. Gassimi's reason for denying the usual promotions is that it is not in the budget because the budget's shrinking based on losing high-paying permitted facilities. On another note, regular staff don't receive merit increases at all. The only way regular staff are able to get increases in their salary is through union negotiation, which occurs every 3 years or 5 years. I question whether the board's evaluation of Mr. Gassimi, largely based on his self-assessment, fully reflects the district's current challenges. Public sector employees typically receive modest raises through collective bargaining, not individual performance. In light of these concerns and all of the public comments heard today, I respectfully request the board delay any decision on Mr. Gassimi's raise until these ongoing issues are thoroughly considered and the looming budget decreases are better understood and prepared for. Additionally, I request that the board make the justification for a merit increase public so that the public can understand why this merit increase is being awarded. And that this discussion continue and be an agenda item on the next board hearings agenda. Thank you for your time and attention.
Okay, our next public commenter on Zoom is Kathy Kay, and I no longer see Kathy Kay on Zoom, and we do not have any hands raised for this item. So Chair McQueen Lejeune, that concludes a public comment for this item. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So are there any discussion? Any discussion around the topic? Any questions? Supervisor Lopez.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I appreciate the comments, and I recognize that there were some written comments, but I'm just wondering if there's any information, just for context, that Mr. Escobedo can provide. I think there's different points that are being raised about the salary increases or merit increases for non-management employees, and I think one of the speakers mentioned that, right? There's a collective bargaining process as well, which is different from anyone in management. So if Mr. Escobedo, if you could just provide some information, I think just to ensure that there's clarity in the process that we're taking today, and any issues that need to be addressed through management.
No, absolutely. I'm happy to speak to that. So what was referenced in the public comments were specifically promotions, and what it sounded like was general salary increases, which is distinct from what we're discussing today. So what we're discussing today is progression within the salary range in conjunction with performance management or the completion of performance reviews. All staff, including staff in the SEIU, go through that process. So if they're not receiving increases, it's because they have progressed to the top of their range. What it sounded like, and I hate to speculate, but it sounded like they were talking about a promotion, and from one classification to another classification is distinct, which is distinct from what we're discussing today. And to that end, there may not be an allocation at an appropriate level budgeted to allow for that promotion, which is a separate process, again, from what we're discussing today. So all that's to say, I think there was more of an apples to oranges comparison.
Thank you, Mr. Escobedo. And Chair, if I can ask of our auditor, controller, Mr. Berg, because earlier there were some questions raised about, we've submitted complaints for investigation. Can you just provide some information about what the process is when someone submits a complaint through your office?
There, that got to work. Thank you. Thank you for the question, Supervisor. We receive in fact, today, item 9 on the agenda, I think, was our hotline report back to the board. We receive a hotline through many different ways. We would get emails, calls, letters, and They're all investigated. They're all either substantiated or unsubstantiated, and we clear them. So yes, if we receive anything, we take a look at it, and if it's substantiated, we substantiate it. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mayor Chavez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm the new guy, so I'm trying to wrap my head around this stuff. So question number one, is it common practice for a pay raise to be retroactive?
The answer to the question is yes. So most of our collective bargaining agreements and our management resolution allows for retroactive pay because what happens oftentimes in practice is that performance reviews are not completed on time for whatever reason. So the way the contract, specifically the management resolution in this case applies, there is a provision where there's a delay, so the pay goes back to the date that the employee would be eligible for the increase.
So it's tied to a contractual obligation.
Correct.
And then the other piece of this is, in terms of the position itself, does that apply to cost of living adjustments as well for this position, or is that excluded?
Good question. So we have our periodic reviews of cost of living adjustments, which here we call general salary increases. That is distinct from this process. This process is with respect to Mr. Ghasemi's progression within the existing salary range of the classification.
So it'd be no duplication.
Correct.
Thanks.
Any other questions? If there are no other questions, is there a motion?
Chair, I would like to make a motion to approve a 6% merit increase for Mr. Ghasemi.
Great. Is there a second, Mr. Widman? All right. Any further discussion? Well, let's move to a vote. Those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions?
Yes.
Great. The motion passes by majority vote. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ghasemi and Mr. Escovedo.
I just want to thank the board. I really appreciate it, and I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. If there are no other discussion or no other items, we have concluded our meeting, so I will adjourn today's meeting at 2:40. Thank you.